Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Universe, and this is chapter 4, I believe. Uh, this is chapter 3, actually, I think. Whatever the chapter is, it is Excel text functions. So today we are going to study about the text functions, and we are going to do some interesting problems and difficult one as well. However, we are going to start with the easy ones, right? So suppose many times we see something like, a number in text format, something like this. First of all, how can we write the number in text format? You have to put the apostrophe, right, or single quote, however you call it, and then put one. So Excel will consider this as a text. It is also showing this, green sign that yeah, this is showing the number in this cell is formatted as a text, right? Although it is a number, so it shows you that message, etc. as well, right? If you click here, it can convert this to number. You can click on this and it get converted to number, right? If you have any doubt whether it is a number or not, you just do equal to. So this equals to this, right? It will give you false, right? It will never work out. However, there are multiple ways you can do that. You can change this. First, you take this and multiply this with 1, right? So now this is a number. How do you check this is a number or this is a text? Now, there are two functions for that. One is called is text. So or you can also check try is no text, right? But here I am going to try is text. So is text. So first one, right? If this is true, then this will kind of indicate, yeah, this is true, this is a text. This one is not a text, so it will show this is false. Another function is called type, right? So if you write type and if you select this, it will show 2. Now it is type is bit difficult to understand, but 2 represent text and 1 represents number, right? So that is how you can do that. Another way you can convert this into number. So I have already shown you two ways. One is you click on this and you click on convert to number, it gets converted number. You multiply something with that, it gets converted number. Another way is you copy this, right? Now I'm pressing Alt TSV, right? And I'm going to sum, right? So or going to add. So I'm going to add, right? So basically it means I'm adding 0 here because I'm not putting any number, right? So I'm if I do that, so it will automatically be 1, right? So this is how you can convert text or a number disguised as text into a number, right? So and we have also I have also shown you the is text and the type function. Let me see what I've written down next. So then there is something called ANSI character. So these are standard characters which are used by computers, right? So that, for example, for if you remember the ANSI numbers, when I started computer science for the first time in graduation, and then there this ANSI code was introduced to me. So if there you have to probably remember what is the ANSI code. So there is a here there is a function called code, and the code gives you the ANSI code for a number, but just remember it only works for the first letter, right? So if I write this, probably everyone knows that the ANSI code of for A is 65, but if I write Arpan here as well, right? So if I just write Arpan, my name, it will still give me 65. So it only works for the first character, right? So if you want for R, you have to write separate code R, that will give you the number, right? And there is something that is the reverse of this. If there is code, then the other number is called char, right? So the char would give you this one, which is 65. I'm going to put 65, right? And it is going to return me A, right? So there is, you can combine both of these as well, like char of code of A, right? So if I do that, it is just reverse function, like char and code are reverse of each other. So what do you expect? What should we see, right? We are going to see A basically. So that is how it is, right? So here we have learned about the ANSI character. Obviously, ANSI code is not used that much, right? And now we are going to slowly move into the difficult things. I have already kind of shown you how you can do a comparison, like equal to here, right? So if you just do a equal to between this one and this one, right? Maybe this one, right? Or this one, right? These two are numbers, right? So we'll get true, right? There is another function for that, that is called exact, right? So if I choose this and this, I'm going to get true. However, if I change this, right? If I change this to this, which is a text, it will say true because this is also a number, right? So in this case, it is converting this into a number and then giving you the result, right? So exact is a function which I believe is not that exact, right? So that is why I kind of do not like to use this function, because actually these are not equal, right? So instead of using exact, you should use the equal to sign, which is a very important call out here, and that is the reason I kind of wanted to consider this, right? Okay, and exact basically goes by the entry. It does not check the maybe the format, right? It does not check whether text format or the number format, just goes by the absolute value, right? That is why I do not like using exact. Now, suppose you want to join two, two cells, right? So how can you do that? Suppose I have written Arpan here, okay, and my surname here, Gupta. Okay. Now I want to join these two cells. So how can I do that? I can do that using an ampersand or this symbol. Many people I have seen that they do not know the full form of this. So this is called ampersand, right? Now suppose you want to enter a space or maybe something other than this, right? You might want to enter a quotation or a comma, semicolon, etc. In this case, I just want to enter a space, so I'm just putting space within the invitation code, double invitation code, and then I'm putting this one. So this is now this we are getting Urban Zengupta, right? So this is how you join, couple of join strings, right? And you can play with this, right? So I mean, probably these are very common knowledge, right? Now let us go into something bit difficult and bit kind of tough as well. Now, I remember when I was in an interview, as I mentioned, like many people, actually, that the reason we started this Excel course is I've seen many freshers giving themselves 8 or 9 out of Excel when they are actually 2 or 3 in Excel. And there was a point of time when I was also 2 and 3, and I also used to give myself 9 or 10 out of, because why should I rate myself lower? The problem is when I was giving an interview to a person who was an Excel wizard, and that person asked me, hey, can you convert this date? Suppose this is the date right now. Today the date is 7th March and 2025. So he told me, can you convert, this is a date, right? This is a date format. You can see the format is changing here. It is date. Excel recognizing this as date. By the way, when we are going to do the date functions, you are going to, like, probably that will be the next class, but when you are going to do the date function, you have to see that the date function is very, very in sync with what date is displayed at the bottom right of your screen. Probably because of the editing, you will not be able to see that because the timing and the date, but whatever is present in the bottom right of your screen, that format would be used to, kind of that the Excel will read the date in that format. So here it is 7, here it is 3, whether it is 3rd of July or 7th of March. How can Excel understand that? Excel will use whatever is present in the, the pure clock and date in the computer, right? So this is actually 7th of March. Now the person, coming back to the story for the interview, the person told me, hey, can you, I just want, can you tell me, can you display this in a format like it is March, or can you get the name number of this? So what I the month name for this, right? So what I did then was, I pressed Control 1 here. So if I pressed Control 1, I go to the date, right? And then I change this like this. So I told him, see, this is how you can understand this is March, right? So he told me, okay, I know that, but can you know a formula to do that, right? And I did not knew the formula at that point of time. And what is the actually the formula is? So there is a formula. It's called text. It is a very powerful formula. There are so many things that you can do with this, right? And that is the Excel text function. Text is the like the showstopper. So here I want to put month, right? So I'm going to put, suppose I want to display 3 letter words, so I'm going to put MMM, right? And if I put this, it will be March, right? Now suppose I want to put DDD, right? DDD, right? So it will show me the date. Today is Friday, so it is showing me the date. Similarly, you can put YYY, and it will show you the the day as well, right? So there are multiple things that you can do with this. Suppose you want to show the maybe date and maybe also the month, right? So if you want to do that, what do you think will happen? Will it show Friday and month, right? What do you think will happen? So the based on how you want to display this, you can probably you might want to give a comma as well, Friday and March, right? Let us see if this works. See, Friday and the March is also kind of given, right? So there are multiple ways you can play with this, right? So you just need to know that there is a function text which displays this, and you can do wonderfully well. Also, this works for a number, as for example, this number, maybe this number, say 770896, right? So this is a number. Usually if you want to change this into something that is more meaningful, i I do alt HK, then alt H9 and alt H9. So what it does, it removes the decimal, right? Alt H9 removes the decimal, alt H9 removes the decimal once again, and alt HK is for accounting. This is the accounting format, right? This is the accounting format. Now suppose I don't want to show you this, right? You can also use a text function to kind of convert this. So let me do that, text, right? And I'm going to choose this, and then I'm going to choose uh, this is the pound sign or the hash sign, right? And then I'm going to write this. So this Excel will understand, okay, this is in the the accounting format, and I never remember the accounting format. Just for this session I have remember this. Whatever format you want to choose, right, you can Google about that, put the format there, right, and the text function will do it for you, right? So if I do that, you can see it is coming as 770896. You can also maybe put a 00 here, right, so that it will display the decimal as well, right? In this case it is 0.96. Suppose I put 56, right? So it will show the decimal as well. It does not mean if you put 00, it does not mean it will show 00. It is the format, right? So whatever format you want to display the data in, text can do that for you. You just need to know the format, right? And you probably just need to Google about that, because it is impossible to remember all the format, and that is not also the purpose of this course, to make you memorize something, but how intuitively you can remember something, that is the purpose of the course, right? So you can Google about that and get whatever formulas that you want to display, right? There is another function which is called dollar, right? So it is called dollar. And because Excel is a thing that is in kind of developed in US, right? So then this is how dollar is there, but rupee is not there, obviously, right? So suppose I wanted to, and this is the number of decimal, right? So if I just put 2, so this will display with the, in this case it is displaying with the rupee sign, because I have chosen that as my currency, right? So you can also display this using dollar sign. There is a way you can do that. You can go to file. Maybe I leave that to you, right? If you want to do that. But I think these days, whatever, if you are using proper version in Excel, they are automatically giving you rupee, because we stay in that country, right? We stay in India, so that is why we are getting rupee, right? So if you want to display this with rupee, then you can do that, and of course you can add something with this, subtract something from this. Rupee would not come and hinder that process, right? So it will not be treated as a text, right? So you can do that, right? Once again, you have to convert that into uh, you know um, a number, right? However, we usually do not use this whenever you do calculation, especially for actual calculation. You do not require rupee or dollar, but this is a way you can do that, right? And I leave this to you as your home task, how you can change this rupee to dollar, right? I think that's a very easy process. You can Google about that. In fact, Excel also have a function that converts, like this is like 7,70,896. Excel can also write that for you, but unfortunately that is not present in English language. That is present in Thai language, right? So that is called this is the language. I know this is the name. So this convert that language into Thai language, but of course that is not of much use for us if you are not from Thailand basically, right? So this is how it converts that, right? But this does not make much sense for us, right? It's all gibberish. So I just wanted to show you that this is how it works. Okay. So now we'll move to the maybe slightly, kind of difficult segment, right? And then we'll go to the hard segment. Okay. So suppose once again, I'm writing my name, but this time I'm writing my name with a space, right? So I'm writing space, Arpan, and space, Sengupta, right? And couple of more space, right? So actually my name is a 13 letter word, I believe, but if I want to check the number of characters, I have already shown you this function in the previous session, which is called length, LEM. So this shows 19, right? So if you want to get the real number, so then always use a function which is called trim. Trim trims the extra spaces. It will not trim the space that is inside. It will trim the space that is outside, right? So I'm going to use trim, right? And trim is a normal function. Like I think it is present in Visual Basic. It is present in all the probably everything everywhere, right? I think only in SQL, Microsoft SQL, it is not present. There you can use L trim and R trim, but I think L trim is left trim, R trim is right trim, right? But I think trim is a common function. It is present in almost all the language, right? So if I do that, it shows 14, which is probably the number of letter that I have. So that I can also check here, right? From this, because here we do not have any kind of space. Let us try this. Okay, so 14. So that is fine, right? So trim has removed the extra spaces, right? And sometime when you compare to text, like suppose if I do a comparison this and this, they will come out to be false, right? And what would happen if I do exact? Let us try exact as well. Exact this and this, right? Let us see what exact does. I frankly have no idea what exact, because I do not use exact that much. I only use equal to sign, right? Exact is also throwing error. Exact is saying, hey, this is not. I mean, both are different because there is space. So the entry is different, right? Here the entry is space Arpan Sen Gupta, and here the entry is without space. So the entry is different. Entry, the value in the cell is different. That is why it is showing false, right? But as I mentioned, exact is not a proper function. Always use the equal to sign, right? So that is how we have used this, and we have seen the length. Now suppose you want to repeat something, right? So there is a function called repeat. So I am going to write that, right? Repeat. There is a function called replace as well, but right now I'm showing repeat. This is the function. Suppose I want to repeat this multiple times. So like how Santa Claus says ho, and if I do that, it will come out to be ho ho ho, right? So you can repeat something multiple number of times, right? Also you can if you want, you can create a visual diagram, or something like that, right, using a repeat. So just to give you an example, so suppose I'm going to create that month, right? And suppose there is a uh, maybe there is cells, right? Cells. And I know how we are going to write the Jan and then Feb, right? And then I'm going to drag it down. Okay. So I'm going to drag it down to December. Okay. Here I'm going to use that rand between, or random number between. Okay. And I'm going to choose 40 to 200. Okay. So it will generate numbers between 40 to 200. And I know every time I press this, it gets changed. So I'm going to uh, kind of put the value. So I just press Alt TSV, right? So that will give you the value, right? Or you can also press the right click V. I've already shown this shortcuts to you before, so I'm using those shortcut right now, right? Now suppose I want to kind of display what is the number, like which one is greater, which one is less, and display the magnitude of that in graph. There are two ways you can do that. In insert, there is something called, I think, let me check that. There is something called spark lines, right? So there is something called spark lines, and you can use that. So for example, if I press this and if I select this data range. Okay, so if I do this, this is slightly different from text, but I'm just showing this to you. Okay, so here you can see this is how it is, right? So it is showing you all the, whatever data. It is just within a single cell. It is showing you the data. Like first is 131, then is 195, then is 200, then is suddenly 81, right? So it is showing you the data for all of this, right? But suppose I don't want to, like, this is the data for this, right? And then I don't want this, right? Suppose I want to do something else, right? So you have seen the Sparkline, right? And there are multiple other things as well in Sparkline. Where did it go? In the Okay, now somehow I was not able to see the Sparkline, but now I can see that, right? So there are multiple things. Probably I missed those, right? But now suppose I wanted to show that how 131 is and how remaining things are, like as compared to 131 should have some number of bars, then 195 should show some higher number of bars, right? For that, repeat is a very good function. So and there we are going to use something which is a rectangle, right? So what is the rectangle? How we can get a rectangle? By using the ANSI code that we have already run, right? So I'm going to write char, and then this I am just remembering that I think it's 162 if I'm not wrong. Okay, 162 give this, right? I don't remember, it is 162 or maybe 163. We can use that to kind of plot as well. I mean, I just need a character to represent. Okay, so this is euro symbol. I don't remember. I think it is something else. Once again, that is not needed for us. Whatever it is showing some other symbol. But suppose we want to, kind of show it in that manner, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to write repeat. Okay. So first we have to repeat this many number of times, right? 131 number of times, but that might be too big. So what number or what text we are going to repeat? We are going to repeat this char and whatever it is, 132, right? So it will give me the for the ANSI code, it will give me the corresponding number, which is what it's probably a currency symbol, right? And this I am going to divide by maybe 10 so that I reduce this number. So I'm going to because I want to show the magnitude, right? If I put 131, if I put just P6, it will be like way too great. I can put that as well, but I just do not want to, get that many number. So I am putting this, and if I show this, so see this is showing the, a bar sort of thing, right? Now if I press it here, this bar is increasing, right? So it is just visual representation. If I kind of drag it down, right? So how I'm dragging it down, you already probably know, control shift, right? And then the down arrow, and then I've already selected that using control C, and I'm pressing control B. You can see this is a symbol which shows how many characters are there. You can give some color to that, right? And this shows, okay, this is a bigger cell and this is a smaller cell, right? It's just a visual representation of all of this, right? So you can use many ANSI number that you want to display, and this is how you can use the repeat function, right? So this is one of the example, right, of using the kind of the function, right? Now suppose I want to maybe pad a number. So how do you mean by what do you mean by padding a number? Suppose there is a there is a word, and before or there might be a letter, right? And on that letter may be my name, and on that letter I want to put some asterisks at the start, maybe for some reason, right? So I want to maybe repeat. Maybe I can show that to you, right? So that it is easier for me to explain. Okay, maybe I can put the padding at the start, right? So suppose this is my name, Arpan. Okay. Okay. Now we have to kind of add some stars after this, right? So what we are going to do? We are going to write this. We are going to take this, and then we are going to kind of club that, right? Add that, then we are going to repeat. So we are basically that ampersand will concatenate, and then along with that we are going to use star. As I mentioned, we are going to use this star, right? and how many times we are going to we want this to repeat. uh, I mean, there can be any number of times, but I am saying that that will repeat 24 minus the number of times, you know, 24 minus the my name, right? So then overall the number, the length would stay the same, right? So this is what I'm going to write: 24 minus length, okay, of this. If I close this and close this, right? So this is how I get the name, right? Now suppose I write Sangupta here, right? And if I drag this, okay, so you can see that the total number of the characters should always stay the same. So if I just do a len, right? So sometimes this might be a need. Sometime that is always staying 24, right? Because we have put the 24. Had this been 32, it will always stay 32. So what is this exactly doing is this is repeating this 24 minus the your length of characters. So overall, the number of characters should always be 24, right? So you are concatenating two things. One is whatever a, and another is 24 minus a. So overall, it will always be 24, right? So that is the mathematical logic that you are using, and sometimes you need your name to be represented in this manner, so that maybe your database has some need that it will only capture words which are 24 letters word, right? So something like that. So you can do this to pad your number, and obviously you can do this to kind of add the number at the right hand side as well, right? So I'm not going to get into that. Right and left hand side, right hand side, I think, sorry, I showed it on the right hand side. You can do that for the left hand side as well. So I'm not going to get in detail of that, right? Okay, so now moving on to few other things, right? So there are a couple of functions which are called upper, lower. So upper means it will convert your name into all uppercase, right? So you can see that upper, and there is lower, right? So lower means it will convert your number into lower case, right? And there is also something called proper. It will convert your number into proper case, like how this name is written. So if I just write this, it will convert that into purple, right? So we already should be, probably you are already familiar with this: upper, lower, and proper, right? So these are the functions. Now there are a couple of other functions which is called left, right, and mid, right? So left, right, and mid. Suppose, and this is one of my favorite interview question as well. Suppose my name is Arpan and Senvita, right? So how can you split my name into two things? A few, very many people, when I ask this question, they go to data and then they go to text to columns, right? And then they use fixed white, and here they use space, right? So you can see this automatically it is splitting that, right? So they use space, right? And then they say split this. So I asked them, can you do that using a formula? And then they struggle, right? So you should understand that this can be very easily done with formula, right? And where the function that we are going to learn will be very, very handy, right? So the first function that we are going to learn is called left. Left means whenever something, we have to start from the left hand side, right? Left means start from the left hand side and extract a portion of the string from the left hand side. So I'm going to write left, okay? And this, right now, in this case, I know it is still 5, right? The space is happening after 5, but I need a function which will determine where the space is happening, so that we can do that. So for that, we have a function called find, which is the other function that I want to introduce. You can also use search. Both works in similar manner, but find is a case sensitive function. It kind of it takes capital A as capital A only, not as small a, right? So find is a case sensitive function. So here in find, I'm going to find text which is space, right? So I'm going to put invitation code and a space within that, right? And within what text? Within this one, right? So find will give me the location of this location, that this is the number 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Find will give me 6, but I don't want 6 characters from the left. I want 5 characters from the left. That is why I'm going to write -1, right? So if I do that, this is coming out to be Urban, right? Now, suppose how can I get Sengupta, right? So Sengupta means I have to start from the right, right? Sengupta means I have to start from the right, okay? So how we are going to get that? So I'm going to write right, Okay, this is the text. Once again, now also we have to use find, but how we can get that? Now here comes the little trick, right? So how we can get that? There are multiple ways, right? But the best way is first to determine length. Sorry, length of this would be whatever it is, 14, right? And then what I'm going to do is find the space, right? So 14, and it will determine the space, right? From the for the find function. So 14 minus the remaining thing will be this segment, right? So if I just show that to you, find, then space, okay, comma, within this, right? So if I just do that, this time I do not need a one. Why we do not need a one, we can understand right now. But suppose we so for in order to understand any function, I have already shown this to you. Go to formulas, go to evaluate formula, right? And evaluate. So first it is that is the text, the length is 14, right? So we have already seen that. And then we are finding the space. So 14 minus 6 would give you this remaining characters, which is what right is doing. So right goes from here and fetch up to this level, right? Left goes from here and fetch up to this level, right? So that is how it is working, right? And that is why I'll see 14 minus 6, which is, and starting from right will start from here and get the next 8 characters, which in this case is Sengupta, right? Now suppose I have a middle name, right? Arpan Kumar Sengupta. Okay. So how can I get that? Right? How can I make it dynamic? First of all, so making that dynamic is challenging. That we are going to cover slightly later. But for that, if I just just remember the word, right, and if I just remember how we can get this, right, so how we can probably kind of determine this is using something called mid, right? But this would be slightly more challenging. Mid means you start somewhere from wherever. So first of all, you need to select the text, obviously, right? And then there is a starting number, right? So what is the starting number? Starting number in my case, right? You know what is the starting number? In my case, starting number will be find, right? Starting number will be the first space, and then there will be a second space, right? So here I'm going to find the first space. We already know the method, so I'm going to write find, okay? And this one, sorry, find text would be space, right, in this name, right? So find will give me the first occurrence of the space, this find, right? And then I'm going to use the same method, right? So I'm going to use length, right? Just how we have extracted the Sengupta, right? So I'm going to use that. I'm going to choose this minus find, right? Minus find. And why find is working here, although it is a case sensitive function, because space is not case sensitive. There is no other variety of space, right? So this, right? Now, mid would start from one later after find, right? Earlier we deducted one here, but in this case you want to add one here, right? Because it will start from one letter after the first space, and this will give you the next one, right? So this, let us see what happens, right? This might be a wrong function, right? And because what we are getting in this case, you have to understand how this is working. This will fetch me 5, and then this will fetch me 6, and then 7. So starting point would obviously be Kumar, right? Then how many time, then how long it will go, right? How long this one will go, right? So that would not be, we are not going to get that using this, right? So this formula that you have written, I've deliberately written this formula to show that this will not work. And what will work, we are going to find a bit later once we introduce a function called substitute, right? But then what happens, this, like whenever the reason I'm covering this is because the moment I ask this to a person in interview, after showing the left and right, probably they have not being able to kind of use the left and right function properly, and then when I come back to this, they thought that they can write this in this manner and they will get the result. The problem is you are not thinking, right? And if you are not thinking, then you are never going to get the results. What will happen in this case, right? So it will give me Kumar and Sengupta, right? Now why that is happening, right? So the first thing is, so obviously our starting point is correct, right? Our starting point is correct. We have got the proper, starting point, but then remaining things are not correct, right? So here you can see it is Arpan Kumar Sengupta find, right? So if I step n, this is 6 plus 1, right? This is 6 plus 1, which is the starting point, and then from there it is going for 20 minus 8. So basically it is getting the remaining 14 characters, right? And in the remaining 14 characters you get the Kumar and Sengupta as well, right? So but that is not what we should be doing. We should be stopping at Kumar, right? We should be stopping at Kumar, right? So now that you have to figure out, like, what is the best way we can stop at Kumar. So whenever we denote the second space, whenever we get the second space, can you stop at that point of time, right? Which is where we use a function called substitute, right? So what is substitute? Now let us come back to substitute, right? So now we have seen left, we have seen right, and we have also seen the use of mid. But the use case of mid is bit complicated, as I mentioned, and we have, kind of not, and we have also seen the find function, right? And I have also mentioned about the search function, which is also similar to that, but search function is not case sensitive. Find function is case sensitive, right? So how can we maybe use a function so that we get only, Kumar, right? So in order to do that, we have to locate the second space, right? Or maybe we have to denote the number of space in this case. How can we do that? For that, I mean, there are multiple functions, but for that, the function that I'm going to do is called substitute, right? So substitute is going to substitute the old text, as you can see, with the new text, right? So I'm going to take this, right? What is the old text? Old text in this case is space, right? And I'm going to substitute that with nothing. So basically what will happen in this case, it will give me Arpan without any space, Kumar without any space, and Gupta. So if we subtract the number of characters that is present in the original word from this, right? So what we will get? We will get the number of space, right? So just to show this to you, how this will work. Yeah, this is Arpan Kumar Sengupta, right? Now if I do a deduction here, length of this, okay, and length of this, it should come out to be 18, right? So 20 minus 18 is 2, which will represent the second space, right? So if I have to correct this, right, then find will give me the starting point, right? Find plus 1 is giving me the starting point. Then the next point would be given to me by length, right? So there it should stop, right? So basically it should show me that, hey, you are going from, the you are starting from this, you are starting from the seventh point, and now you need to stop when you find the second number, right? So when you find the space, right, then you need to stop, right? But before we come to that, let me cover some other use cases of substitute. Otherwise I'll kind of forget that, right? So substitute can also be used to maybe change something, like maybe in this, suppose I want to change my name with my father name, right? So actually my I do not have a mid name, but my father do. So actually that would be the correct name, right? So I'm going to choose this, and here I'm going to cover change Arpan, right? To my father's name is Arun. So Arun, right? So if I do that, then it will return Arun Kumar Sengupta, right? So that is one of the use case. We are going to come back to this. Okay, we are going to come back to how we are going to use the met function to determine this. We're going to come back to this, but before that, let us kind of that might be our showstopper for today, right? That is a very good exercise. Okay, so that is how we can determine the number, like the space, right? That is how we determine what is the space, what is the number of a special character in a thing, right? So that is how we can determine that. Okay, so let us consider few examples of substitute. Okay, now substitute can also yeah, so substitute can also be used to, now substitute is a function that is case sensitive, right? Substitute do not work, suppose if I put small a, right, substitute will not be able to work, right? So how can you make that work? I think that is very easy. You have probably already have guessed it. So for that, we have to use upper or lower, right? We have to convert this, right? We have to convert this into, some proper in uppercase, right? So here we are going to use this upper, right? Upper, so that it gets converted when substitute is looking into that, it gets converted into uppercase, right? And here also, here we need to write everything in uppercase, right? So here we are going to write ARAN, and then here we are going to write ARUN, right? But then eventually this we want in proper case, so we are going to write proper. Okay, and close this. So let us see if this works, right? So here you can see now it is getting changed, because now we are, first we converted this into upper. Within the upper we are finding the capital letter word upper, which is getting, we are getting that. Then we are replacing that with Arun, and we are using the proper, so that we get the proper case, right? So that is how we can do that. So that is another use of substitute function. Okay, so let me check if there is anything that I have, kind of mentioned, or yeah, I think I have covered till that point. We are going to come back to the mid section. There is another thing probably that I am going to cover, right? So I'm just checking what are the things that I've written down and what are the things that I should cover, right? Before we come back to this. Okay, I think I have done everything, extracting the last word, extracting the. Okay, so before we come to the number, let us do another exercise which will help us in solving the mid name or mid name crisis. Let us call that mid name crisis. Suppose you have a path, right? Something like C uh, colon, then quotation, right? Something like files. Okay, then Excel and my file. Okay, my file dot xlsx. Okay, so suppose this is the function. Now what I want is, I just want the last segment of this, right? The last word, which is what we wanted here as well, right? The Kumar part only, not the Sengupta part, right? So if I can do that, maybe I can use that method to get Kumar out of this, right? So how can we do that? That is the important thing, right? So whenever you have to, kind of get something like this, we have to find, obviously we are going to, kind of going to change this, right? We have to, first we have to determine what is the number of spaces, right? And for that we know what is the method, that in substitute we are going to use the length, right? So we are going to use the length to get the number of spaces, right? So let us work on that. I need the last. So there are 1, 2, 3, right? So there are three things that is present here. Three, what can you say, backward slash, or three, whatever it is, right? I think you get the point, right? So how can I get three, right? So that is the first thing. Now for that, I am going to write substitute. Okay. And then I'm going to select this text. Then I'm going to select the old text, right? So old text is this, right? That I'm going to replace, because I want the last one, right? So let us change the, if I can do this correctly, then the last bar would be replaced, right? How, with what I want to replace that? I want to replace that with star. Usually that is how I operate, right? So I'm going to replace that with star. Now you can see there is something additional here, which is called the instance of the number. So from where you want to replace this, right? This is an optional argument. You need not require that, put the value of that argument, but this will give me the number from which this substitute function will work, right? So if I can get this number, right, this one, like this is the number. If I can somehow get that, and then from there, if I do some calculation or something like that, then we'll be able to get the remaining portion, right? Maybe we can do a mid from there to the end, right? Which will be given by length of a1, right? So if we start from this one, if we start from after one character after the last slash, and then we go to the end, right? The length till the entire length. So then that will give me the the total value, right? So how can we do that, right? For that, we are going to use this thing called instance number. This means it is going to give us the uh, the number, the what is the number of this last bar, right? So for that, you already know the method, what we are going to use. So we are going to use length, this len, right? Len, this one, okay. Then minus of len, okay. Then in this case we cannot use length, we have to use substitute, right? We have to use another substitute. In this case we are not going to use the instance number for this one. So here we are going to replace the slash with nothing, right? So that we get the number of slashes, right? So this, I'm combining multiple formulas. These are called mega formulas, right? So obviously this cannot be done one at a time, like we're thinking multiple things at the same time, right? Always split this. Like I might be more familiar with Excel. If you have to do that, always do that part by part, right? Do not try to write the mega formula one at a time, right? Always, even I also do this part by part, right? So let me put the value. So I'm getting a value error. So that means I've made some mistake somewhere, right? Let me figure that out. Substitute. So the best way to, obviously debug is this one. Substitute. This is the length. Then I have gone to, then I'm going to substitute, which is substitute v12, right? So v12 is this, where I should be. So the this character is 26. I can see this 26 here. Then I'm going to substitute, and then I should be replacing that with, so the last substitute is not working. You can see this somewhere I have made some error here, right? So what could be the error that I need to figure out? This one is not working, okay? And this is how you also learn debugging, right? So substitute, and let me rewrite this, then quotation, this one, which we are going to replace with this, right? So that will give us the number of spaces, okay. Sorry, I think there was a space. It's still not working. Still not working. Why it is not working? Now whenever it is not working, I think this is a very good exercise that we are going to do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break it down, right? So I'm going to, because now it is something is wrong, right? I don't know what is wrong, but something is wrong. We are getting value error. So now I'm going to break it down to see if this is working or not. Minus length of substitute, right? Okay, length substitute, okay. And then I'm going to select this, okay. Then the space, and then replace that with nothing, okay. Okay, so substitute has closed, length has closed, substitute has closed only, I believe, right? And I think I put an extra bracket here that is not needed, okay. Yeah, this should work. Let's see. Yeah, this is giving me 3. So that means whatever function I've written. So this is the beauty of splitting the thing into a couple of parts. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to replace that exact same thing here, right? Whatever formula I've given, we have just copied that and put it here, right? So let us see now how it looks like. Now you can see the last one, obviously, right? So what we tried to do, that has been achieved. The last one, right? The last one is replaced with a star, right? So that is what I wanted to do, because now I can use find, right? So if I now use find, I can use search as well, right? But I am accustomed to use find, so I am using find, and there I need to find this, right? And that will be the text within this text, right? So I can do that. That will give me 15, and I would require the value plus 1, right? So that will give me 16. So whatever, so this is the another part of the function that I've written. So this will give me directly, like this will point out to this location. So I can use med, right? And if I use med now, so suppose I am using med, right? And for that I'm choosing this value. I'm starting with this because I can always replace this. It is a dynamic thing. and what is the number of characters here, right? So it will go from 16 to the end, last of this, right? I'm going to use length of this one, right? If I do this, I have not closed the bracket, right? Which is why it is complaining. Let me put the bracket here. Now, did I do any mistake? I think I put an extra bracket, or they have put an extra bracket somehow. Okay, this should work. So now we are getting the my file extents, which is our purpose. Like I just wanted to know the file name, right? So now this is, let us make this dynamic as well, right? So dynamic means it only depends on the one cell. So I'm going to copy this, right? And I'm slowly going to, this is how you create mega formulas, right? So as I mentioned, you do not know how, like you create part by part of it and then you do the entire thing, right? Mega formula was supposed to be one of the chapter I have covered in this chapter only, right? So now also we are getting my file. So here still we have to use V14, because now if you see that if you just press F2, it is getting used, two cells are getting used. So which is what, not what we want. We want only one cell. So what we are going to do is we're going to copy this, right, and put it in place of V14. Now, if someone sees this formula, that person will think, oh, that person is a genius. He has written such a big formula, right? Something is missing, maybe. Let me correctly put the value there, right? So what I was saying is some person will think that I have put this formula, right, and written this formula at one go because that is the end product, but that is not what I have done, right? I have just, kind of replaced multiple things at a time, right? So now you can see if I just press F2, it is just this one is only getting triggered, right? So whatever name you put here, as long as it is separated by this, the bar, right? It will always work, right? Let us come back to this. In fact, while thinking about this, if you just remember how we have done this make, substitute, we probably do not need substitute, right? So, from Arpan, we can remove the word Arpan and get Kumar Sengupta, right? And if we can do that, we can also remove the word, Sengupta from this and get Kumar, right? Why not, right? And we can probably, kind of get the result, right? So, but then that would give me only the, from this. So if from Urban we are getting Kumar Sengupta, right? Now we just need the midpoint, right? So this is how it is. Now what we are going to do here, just for the safety purpose, we are going to write trim because there might be some space here, right? So this is Kumar Sengupta, right? Now we are going to write the same function find, right? Because we have done that, right? So we already know how we are going to do that. So we're going to find space and then this, right? So that would give me, and for that we need left, okay, left, and this is the text, right? Sorry, this is the text. So that, and from there we subtract one, right? So that will give me Kumar, right? Now this is the purpose, right? So if you can do something with a word, now you are going to create the mega formula, right? So our first step is obviously this one. So this is the step. Now from here we are going to replace V20, right? So what is V20? This is replacing V20. So V20 is using trim U17, right? So let us just first copy that and put that in U17, okay? So now it is all on U17. If I do F2, okay. So now whatever is in U17, we are going to copy that, right? So this entire thing is in U17, and wherever we see occurrence of U17, we are going to copy it there, right? So here, right, you can also use the replace function here, but I am going to use the, not replace function, the replace functionality, right? You can do control F or control H and replace in this formula, right? But I am not going to do that. I'm going to just, because there is only two instances of U17, right? So if I now do this, so now this is referring to this one, right? So we have done that, right? Earlier also we could have done that. It just did not click our mind. You can also use substitute. There are multiple ways you can do that, right? But this is how we have done that. Now let us first try and see if this name changes, if there is any problem, right? So instead of Arpan Kumar Senupta, let us see if we write Das, right? Even then we are getting Kumar, right? So it should not matter if uh, suppose we write SGT, right? So then we should get SGT. We are getting SGT. So that means it is working perfectly, right? So you can see how we have. So once we know the basic function, right? Left, mid, right. Once we know the basic function, once we know find, search, etc., right, we can use that function and use our brain to split it into multiple smaller things, and then we can get the result, right? So then there are two more things that I want to share. I think this video is way too long, but I don't want to trim this video because this is such a kind of good video. So I don't want to trim this too much, right? Or split it into two parts. So I think this is how I'm going to release this. The one thing that I've understood is if I have to create Excel video, it will be very long because I have to explain that. And that is something that I have to figure that out, like how we can do that. Otherwise, the videos will be too long. Anyways, so if you have to count the number of words, right, in a kind of this in a structure like this, so what can we do, right? So I think you already probably know the answer for this. But first of all, we are going to trim this because there might be some space, right? And then we are going to substitute the space with nothing, right? And that should give us the number of words because that will give you, in this case, that should give us the that plus one should give us the number of words, right? So maybe let us try for this. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write length and then length, okay? And just to be on safe side, I'm going to write trim, okay? And then I'm going to write this, okay? And now we already know that we have to substitute the space, right? So this comma space. Now this should be very easy for you to understand. This with nothing, and then I'm closing the length bracket, right? So yeah, I think that's it. And this will give me, is there anything that I have? Yeah, once again, there is an issue. Substitute. I don't know why we are facing this. Okay, so I have not closed the bracket for length, and that is causing the issue. Okay, so that is how we know that there are two words, but that is there are actually three words, so we have to add one, like I mentioned, right? So it is basically giving me the number of space. We are, in this case, we are saying that space is dividing the number of words, right? So the number of word would be one more than the number of spaces. So this method we have already seen, this gives the number of space, and plus one would give us the number of words, right? So now it does not matter how many words, if even if it is Pandit, Gangadhar, Vidyadhar, okay, Vidyadhar, Mayadhar, uh, Omkarnath, Shastri. I have never seen a name bigger than this. This is the Shaktiman character, right? So then also we'll get this, right? You can see this, this get this, right? In this case, there is no middle name, but our this formula is still working correctly. It is getting the the second name, right? But in this case, there are so many middle name, and here you can see that it is actually giving us six character, 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? And our formula is correctly identifying that, right? So that is how it works. Okay, so I think, yeah, I think I'll stop here. There is one more thing that I wanted to show you, but that requires array formula knowledge, and I think I'll remember that whenever we get to the array formula chapter, we are going to cover that, because otherwise this video is already quite long and it is going to be extra long, right? So that is where we are going to cover it later. Okay, that is how we deal with text. You can see how we can use the different function of text, and yeah, that's it. So maybe next time when we meet, we are going to work with dates and times in Excel, right? Which is a very, something that very few people understand. See you in next video.